Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ryan Milne from Trotec South Africa, and welcome to our webinar today about the Rayjet R500 by Trotec. The R500 is engineered for your business. The R500 comes with up to 2 laser sources, which is a 100-watt glass tube and a 60-watt ceramic laser tube, or one of the other. The R500 also comes with a user-friendly software, the Rayjet Manager. The R500 impresses with the highest of safety, which at Trotec, you all know we make sure the customer is safe and understands the full safety of running a laser. The R500, with the large working area and powerful laser, offers you a 1300 by 900 working area, which is suitable for most size materials in use today. The powerful laser can cut up to 15 millimeters acrylic if correctly set up. The R500 is suitable for laser cutting, engraving, and marking a wide variety of large materials like acrylics, wood, textiles, leather, cardboard, MDF, or better known as superwood, paper, and much more. Typical applications include signage, trophy plates, woodworking, prototypes, and custom gifts. With the Rayjet R500 software, files are sent from most graphic programs directly to the laser with easy location points. Peter did a great webinar a few weeks back on the Rayjet Manager, which you can watch at Trotec South Africa on YouTube. As for today, I'll only be covering a couple of things, and these would be testing of different products, cutting thick materials, mainly the acrylic, and last, raster engraving versus vector online marking. Testing different materials is very important, okay? For you as the business owner and the laser operator gives you a great understanding and a handle on most materials out there. Key factors is always remember, never test on your customer's product because this will end up costing you money. Okay, it also tests different materials, allows you to run your fabrics and all sorts of many different things. What is great also with the Rayjet Manager, which is based very much similar to the Trotec, you're able to build up a great database. This will help you basically for when customers walk in and they have something that you've currently worked on or worked on in the previous, you can run it. Okay. What we're going to be covering, okay, today with the Rayjet R500 is cutting 15 millimeter acrylic, so you'll really see the machine working at its best, as well as engraving on wood. Well, I won't say engraving, but I've done the vector of it and the engraving done already. Okay, so I'm going to grab 2 samples, which I've done earlier today, and those are of engraving on some wood, which you'll be able to see. We've done literally a light skimming of engraving, left to right, which is your raster, okay? So left to right is pretty much based on your printing side of things, okay? Left to right, and it's slowly moving up and allowing, like a printer would do, drop its ink, or in this case, the laser source marking your product, okay? So this is what we would call your raster, okay? So what I will be doing is I will be running a piece of MDF wood for you guys, okay? It's actually a veneer MDF, and we were going to run the vector of the particular image. So I'd say take me a few seconds and I'll be able to set and run, so you'll see me working, and I do apologize if you happen to see my back every now and then. So I grab my wood, and I'll show you, as I said to you earlier on, Peter did cover his webinar a few weeks back with regards to, as I said to you, pinpoint location. So we can place our wood in the machine. Our focus tool, which allows us for basically engraving on our surface, and I'm sure we'll be able to put up a picture of it, and you'll see basically it's got markings on it where you're able to set the machine to engrave either above the product or deeper in the product, allowing for a different solution for a different product. So I'm going to set the product up. And for this particular instance, we're going to be engraving with 0. So we can engrave the surface or mark the surface. So we set it up on the 0 location. There we go. As I said earlier, pinpoint location, line it up with the surface, with the corner of the material. I don't know if you can see this on the camera. And what I basically do is just line it up. And there's my corner set for the job. If you take a look on our screen, you'll see that I've already custom set some artwork. For our wood. And you can have the different applications. As I mentioned in the engraving, you have your raster, which is your black engraving. Or as you can see, if I take the black engraving out, you'll see there's a blue line in the areas. And it is easier sending the machine down. Send it down to the laser. Select what you're to engrave, using the products you have in your database. Remember, technology is not always on our side, and technology can let you down when you least expect it. So remember, in your server settings, in the new manager software, you're able to have and create backups of your entire system with regards to the Rayjet Manager Material database. So if you zoom into the machine now, we're going to close the lid to create our safety that we need. There we go. While the machine takes a few moments to process it, many customers and individuals will like different finishes and different aspects of the engraving. Okay, you as the operator or the business owner needs to make this very well understood to the customer or the paying end user for the product. They can be expecting a finish and you could be giving them a finish that neither one would like. So make it clear that the customer can have a choice in what they would like to have done on the machine with regards to the finish. There are pros and cons to having deep engraving as well as shallow engraving, because deep engraving can sometimes give you a little bit of a residue, especially on your woods. That means you just need to do a little extra sanding and making sure the product is suitable for the customer. I myself like the product to be a little bit deep. The Rayjet R500 is typically designed more along the fields to be cutting, okay? So I'd like to always turn around to the customer or an individual and let people understand the machine is designed as a cutting machine. So as you can see with the roster engraving or the roster marking, you will see basically we're doing the outline of the word. So besides the fact it's going to run a lot faster, you'll be able to see the exact same markings and it's crystal clear for your customer. Now, one would turn around and say, well, look, what happens if we combine the best of both worlds, where you'll have the raster engraving as well as the vector marking around your particular objects. This works quite great on your bamboo finished products because it gives a nice, as I would like to say, a wow effect. So as you can see now, your vector versus your raster. You can see both look of equal quality, and one would just be up to the customer which one they would like. Understanding that time is money, and one takes 20 minutes where the other one can take 5 minutes. Or if time is not really a problem and you've got a customer that is more than happy to pay for that extra lit, you can combine a little bit of both. And as you can see, I did the raster engraving and I did the vector around the word R500 to give you that unique finish and give you more emphasis on R500. So like I said in the beginning, we're going to be covering a little bit of thick acrylics and products that we would like to engrave and cut. One of which being, as I said earlier on, the Rayjet is custom to your business, and we can cut up to 15 millimeter thickness acrylic. Again, everything is up to setup and having the correct setup. So while I busy set up the machine here, I'll be talking to you what I'm basically doing. So I'm basically now making space in the machine. As you can see, I blocked off half of the table so that I can have better ventilation or better extraction from the machine. I lift the head up. Tighten it in place while I set up the machine with my particular products. Trying to find my other one that was finished. A moment, sorry, gentlemen. Okay. So I'm just setting it up here for you guys. Okay, so as I mentioned to you earlier, with our focus tool, we got key points marked on the focus tool. And we're going to be doing engraving on the top, our raster. I set it up with a 0 finish. Here it is over there. I move it to where I'd like to make my mark. And I close the laser door, obviously, for our safety reasons. I take my drawing. I put it in place where I'd like to put my marks or my engraved product. Update it. And we're looking at a few minutes to do the engraving here. In the interim, while this is engraving, I'll be talking to you about the pros and cons of why we elevate the particular product, and I will be zooming into a product shortly for you. So if we take a look while the machine is running, I ran a sample earlier on, and as we all know, Trotec is renowned worldwide for their great thumb. So if you can see, having the incorrect setting or the incorrect setup, you'll have a very poor result. And as you can see, with this particular product, we had too much air, causing our milky finish, and we had a lot of what we call flashback from our actual grid table. So as you saw when I was setting up, you saw I had elevated the product, And this will give us a result which is way more suitable for what your customer would expect from the machine. So you can see 15 millimeter, one pass with a clean glass finish. And of course, eye engraving. Remember guys, one thing is always key, is that the longer it takes for engraving and the longer it takes to do any necessary setups, time is money. And like I said to you, preparation, playing, and learning how to use the machine is always key. It is key to learn by your mistakes. Never ever fault yourself if something goes wrong, because sometimes the best results of when you're running comes from having made a mistake. Many years ago, when I was still learning how to play and work with different products, I came across making a wood laminate. I turned the wood laminate almost ice white finish, and that was having the incorrect setting. I later on then started offering this finish to my end users, and they were absolutely blown away with the results of what one can do with a laser. Yes, the laser works and creates a high flame, intense heat, especially when cutting thick products. You know, this 15 millimeter acrylic takes the laser to run 100% power, and we run the machine relatively slow to get the finish that we would like. Very important, everyone, is the fact that you cannot ever leave the machine running unattended. Even if you walk away just for that brief second or two, you can have catastrophic finishes. You can come back into the room, your machine's burning. You can have any type of accident. Always be in the vicinity of the machine. Never have an excuse of, I'm just ran to the loo, or I just did this, or I just did that. Rather, do all of those before you come and focus on the machine, because prevention is always better than the cure. There we've engraved. The machine is now finished engraving. And now with the Rayjet, you have to now do a second motion where you have to set the machine's focus within the product. This is enabling me to cut up to 15 millimeters where I focus the laser slightly beyond the zero, which is the surface of the material. And I'm working within 4 millimeters of the product. And again, like I said, the focus tool, which was referenced to the picture earlier on, it has got great quick features of above the surface or within the surface. Remembering, guys, that do not bump your product, because if you bump your product, it is done. Yep. I've now set it 4 millimeters within the surface. Close the door. Call the next part of the job. Take my job, place it to the marker, update, and we hit start. I really hope that we're able to zoom in quite nicely or close enough to see what the laser is doing while cutting. Remember, guys, I have 0 air assist on this particular product so that I can have my glass finish. We have raised this particular product or material around 30 millimeters above the surface or the grid area. The Rayjet boasts both a grid table as well as a lamella table. For when, if you know as a customer you're doing high volumes of signage, one would recommend, or we as Trotec or the salespeople would try and push you in the right direction to choose the correct product or the correct setup for your business. You can see as the laser is moving along, you can actually see a little bit of smoke residues coming out from below, because it shows you that the beam is still focusing all the way through. So through that 15 millimeter, through that additional 30 millimeters below the surface, and it is still creating ignition on the actual grid itself. Here we go, gentlemen and ladies. And take a look. One pass, 15 millimeter acrylic on the Rayjet R500. See, almost perfect mirror finish, as well as our engraving on the product. Please, guys, feel free. Send your questions. Ask us anything. We're always here to help. And if we can't, we'll figure out how to. I hope you enjoyed today's session on the Rayjet R500. Are we clear?